I drink till the night becomes another day, and the day's just another little thing in our way. There's something about the way you beat me down that I'll never learn. You're the pint of no return, the pain in my chest, the stain on your dress, the glass in my eye. But this life is a joke, and death is the punch. I
Mothers of Mayhem!
Beep, beep. Kids.
Babe.
Ah!
Babe. We're talking to Chandler today.
Oh! Welcome to Mothers of Mayhem, an extreme horror podcast. And yes, we are talking to Chandler Morrison today.
Yes.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you're the 39th most popular book podcast in New Zealand.
Plot twist, there's only 39 podcasts in New Zealand. So
about books.
right.
And only 39 New Zealanders actually listen to them.
So 39 and 39, that's our number.
Ours is Renee. Renee Newmanhouse.
Right.
Shout out to Renee, who made us 39th in book podcasts.
With listening to one episode. That's probably
we
not true.
love you, Renee.
She does.
Famous.
Yeah.
Get out!
We're having all kinds of technical difficulties, but it's only our children.
Okay, so today is Chandler Morrison Day, which we feel is one of our most important interview days, not because we don't value our other author friends, but Chandler Morrison is a pretty well-known name, not just in indie horror, but like he is starting to branch over into mainstream horror and was one of the most viral authors on both TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter last year. So this is a gentleman who has a little bit more public presence than Christina and I are used to. And of course, this is the day that our children want to be the most involved.
Oh my God. They're like
obnoxious.
Oh. I mean, they're just like, how can, and it was so funny because I texted me, I am Marian this morning, and I was like, guess you can't sleep. And it's like 2:00 my time in the morning because I can't sleep because there's so much going on today.
It's amazing. Well, friend, I know how much you absolutely love and adore Chandler Morrison and his writing. Tell the people a little bit about our friend.
Well, Chandler has written about 6 books, and I say about because he might be coming out with one by the time this drops. I don't know. One is short stories, and we will probably discuss and touch on all of them. He also was in Battered Broken Bodies.
Yeah.
Matt Shaw did that one. I believe he's 28, 29-ish. I'm not good with math. I'm not good with math. And just honestly, if you've been living under a rock, just go Google him.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's going to know how old Chandler Morrison is, it's probably going to be Chandler Morrison.
This is all alleged.
Allegedly.
All alleged. All alleged.
Allegedly, the person coming onto our podcast today is Chandler Morrison.
So,
we can't confirm.
We can't confirm or deny anything. Like, we don't even know if it's really Chandler Morrison that we're getting. We're just going to throw questions at this guy.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to talk about some different types of stuff. So just throwing out some vocab at you guys, because I know you love getting smarter. Transgressive fiction. We've talked about that in the first one, but it's characters confined by societal norms and trying to get out of them in unusual ways. Bret Easton Ellis, Chandler Morrison, obviously. Satire, use of humor to show people's stupidity or their vices. A lot of times satire is used for politics.
Oh,
yeah.
I
think a lot of politics is kind of to be made fun of right now. Nihilism. Nihilism is the rejection of all religions and moral principles and the belief that life is meaningless.
I can get down with that.
Right? I'm actually the opposite. I'm an existentialist. So
Yeah,
that's okay.
kind of. I float in between.
We like tip our toes. We're like fence sitters. We're fence sitters. And then last but not least, we also have something that I did not know was one, but dirty realism.
What?
Yes, it was coined by Bill Buford, depicts a similar, okay, I thought it was steamier, but it's not, it's seamier, and that means unpleasant, immoral, corrupt, or degrading aspects of ordinary life in spare, unadorned language.
So a little bit, I feel like we could probably put, oh yeah, well, Bukowski, but I feel like Polaniak probably goes in there too, right? We could probably Polaniak. He probably, that's that.
Absolutely.
Dirty
he would be the modern
vibe. Yeah.
He would be the modern, while, you know, Charles Bukowski, and I do not love Charles Bukowski in any way, shape, or form. I really don't.
No. If you're not watching this on YouTube, Christina totally did not just flash like 18 Bukowski books at the camera.
I am a Bukowski girl. My favorite quote of all time is, "Find what you love and let it kill you."
And that is exactly what Christina and I are doing with this podcast.
Really is. Like, God damn, I'm ready for a break.
Thanks, Bukowski, because we took your advice a little bit too seriously.
Right. Oh, we want to do this. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. And on that note, let the people know how much time you've spent preparing for this interview today.
Probably with researching over 12 hours and reading, I would say 18.
Oh,
so I would say 30 hours at least, at the minimum. And that's okay, because I do that for all of our guests, not so much all that time, but you know, it's Chandler Morrison.
So she has literally spent hours reading, researching, and curating very thoughtful, meaningful questions to ask Chandler today. I just want
raising that bar.
I just want you to know, Christina, I also have lots of really good questions.
Okay, I'm going to need you to stay focused today and, you know, not embarrass us.
Excuse me, madam. I am very good at the question making and asking.
So go ahead and run a few of these past me real quick. Let's pretend.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So yeah, let's pretend. Let's pretend that you're Chandler Morrison and I'm me, and I'm going to ask Chandler Morrison you some of my very good questions.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Maury, can I call you Maury? Of course I can.
No.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
don't. Please don't do that.
Maury.
Please, for the love of God, don't call him Maury.
Yeah, I do what I want. Maury. So Maury, which Care Bear do you identify with the most and why?
I feel like the bar is already low. So that actually is a more thoughtful question than some of the questions he's received.
Maury, can you tell us what color puce is? Because my mother swears it's a shade of green, but I am pretty confident she is wrong.
I don't know what puce is. So do you think he's gonna know?
Get your fucking head in the game, Maury. Focus on me and focus on puce. Are you prepared? Good man. All right. So who would you rather have backing you up in a vicious street fight, me or Christina, and why is it me?
No, Marian, stop. You're number one, you're a professional. Number two, I'm not gonna fight anyone.
Did you just say that I'm a professional?
I did.
That demonstrates a disturbing lack of insight on your part, friend.
I guess we could pretend. Can we pretend that we're professionals today? Or is this just going to be a disaster?
Look, Chandler Morrison's in the waiting room. I'm going to let him in.
No, please don't. No, I'm not ready.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. He's coming in. Woo! Well, hey, look at this. We have who is this person? I don't know.
This
I
guy.
don't know him.
This guy.
This is Chandler Morrison. For those of you not watching on YouTube today, Chandler Morrison is in the building. Hello, sir.
Yes, I am. Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for doing this. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. We mildly question your decision, but hey, we're okay with it at the same time. Thank
We're
you so
excited
much
for that lapse of judgment.
Yeah, this is to our benefit, really. Well, before we get into things, we'd love to give you a chance to introduce yourself to our listeners a little bit. Share anything with them that you would like to share.
Sure, yeah. Like you said, I'm Chandler Morrison. I primarily a novelist. I write short stories as well. I get kind of classified as a horror author, which I don't particularly agree with. Always kind of identified as a satirist. Whenever people ask me what kinds of books I write, I say dark, tragic love stories. And there are certainly horror elements in many of them, but I wouldn't classify myself as a straight up horror author. But it's however people want to look at it.
I guess it really is all up for interpretation, isn't it? But
Yeah.
you're exactly right. Like when I think of my first experience with literary satire, it was Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal.
Yeah.
That story's horrific. It really is. So I'm curious. Let's go ahead and start at the very beginning of all of this. So what was your first experience with literary satire, and what about that made it feel like home, quote unquote, for
It
you
was
with writing?
Yeah, great question. My two first, I'd say, biggest inspirations that kind of set me on the path that I've been on were Bret Easton Ellis and Chuck Palahniuk, and they have kind of a similar thing where there are horrific elements in a lot of their books, but like the horrific elements are never the point, and they are the violence and the twisted shit that's often happening is representative of something deeper and analogous of larger point. And I really connected with that, and I feel like there is a way to kind of get at the truth of things through darkness and ugliness, and that was something that I kind of always wanted to do, and so that was a big thing for me, and always kind of has been. I can say in my more recent stuff that I've been working on, I've kind of shifted away from some of the violence and the horror because I've kind of gotten sick of it.
Yeah.
But the darkness is still there. Like I don't know how to write a book that's not rooted in really kind of oppressive darkness. But yeah, so from a satirical inspiration standpoint, I would say, like I said, Bret Easton Ellis and Chuck Palahniuk were the big ones for me.
Did you start reading as a young teenager, or when did this all start to become part of your world?
Yeah, so Chuck Palahniuk I first discovered when I was I think I was 11 when I read Invisible Monsters.
Good place to start.
Yeah, right.
Can I ask real quick, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28.
That's right.
Oh God, I'm gonna be 42. My Lord. Carry on.
Well, I live in LA though, so 28 is like 48 anyway.
Over the
so,
hill, you're done.
Yeah.
So Invisible Monsters, when you were 11.
Yeah, I was 11. And before that, because I'd been reading since I could, like hold a book.
Sure.
And I read a lot of like kind of traditional types of literature, like classics. The first novel I read was The Hobbit. Yeah, and I read the Lord of the Rings series immediately after that. I was 6, and I knew then, like reading those books, that was what I wanted to do. And it's funny that that was the book. Those were the books that set me on that path. Because today, and really since then, like I'm not a big fantasy guy at all, and I just don't really have the patience for all the lore and the world building and all that.
Yeah.
But there was something about those books that just really, like the way he created this whole universe that I really responded to. And so that was, what I wanted to do. And after that, it was like a lot of Edgar Allan Poe that I read, and I wasn't allowed to read Stephen King. And it's funny, like, because my dad, neither of my parents were big readers, but my dad read like every Stephen King book that came out. That was really like it was the only books that he'd read. And so my parents didn't really know like the like extent of all that was out there. And so because my dad was reading Stephen King, I wanted to read Stephen King, but they were like, no, you're too young now to self on this. And I mean, I read it anyway, but like in secret. But it's funny because like at 11, I still wasn't allowed to read Stephen King, but my mom was the one who gave me Invisible Monsters, which is just so much worse than anything Stephen King ever done.
Interesting. That's so interesting to me. And I'm sorry, Christina, but I'm fascinated by this because you mentioned reading The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy at such an early age. I also was brought up on that, as well as many C.S. Lewis books, that whole group of authors. But I find it interesting that you're so focused on social commentary and satire now, because the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit in and of itself, they were commentary on the state of the world during World War I and moving into World War II. And there was a lot of commentary on theology and faith and the effect of faith on culture and the socio-political climate of the time. So I just find it interesting that you went from a book like that at such a young age and have followed this path through adulthood and kept falling along that path this entire time, like going from Tolkien to Easton Ellis to Polania. Like that's just fascinating to me. And then this is where you've landed. So
yeah, that's no, that's a real, I never really thought of it like that. That's a really interesting point. I've not read Tolkien's books since then, so it's been over 20 years. And that all, like the satirical elements and the commentary all went well over my head at 6. Like I just thought it was cool with the elves and shit. But
At that point, Gollum's just freaky as fuck.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to meet that guy in a dark cave.
But when I got to Polnick and then later Ellis, it was kind of this revelation for me, because like I said, like all the books I was reading up until that point were very traditional, and you read somebody like Polnick after reading, you know, everything that Poe has done, and it's just a totally different style, and it's very modern, and like I had just not encountered anything like it before, and that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole that I never really came back out of, and
yeah, well, it served you well. So far, so good, right?
Right. A few readers here and there.
Yeah.
You know, just random, totally random.
Go ahead, Christina. I know you have a good question that kind of builds off of this whole
Are you
concept
talking about satire?
of satire, and yeah.
So obviously in your book, satire is first and foremost. And I have my notes written, so bear with me. The famous scene in Dead Inside really upset people, and you've spoken to that in detail, so we're not going to talk all about it. But I do wonder, did you question how that is someone's boundary, the infamous abortion clinic scene, how that is someone's boundary versus like the news, true TV, you know, they read about like genocide, or, you know, the real versus the fake? Did you ever wonder like why that would upset, like why that would be their boundary?
Yes, I mean, it's a great question, and I question a lot of things about people's reactions to that. I don't. I've kind of gone over it in my head in circles. I'm not. I don't understand why. Like why that book is the one that is so popular.
Yeah.
And because I mean, nothing against that book, like I don't believe it's my best book, but also like why people get so upset about it, because I you know, there are these assertions from the online various, you know, factions of the online community that that it was written for shock value, and that scene in particular is just me trying to outdo myself, and which is, you know, as I've said in the past, truly not the case. Like I never set out to, you know, as for shock to be the, you know, the takeaway, and it surprises me that people take it seriously enough to be so upset by it, because it's ridiculous. Like it's not realistic. Like none of that book is realistic. Like and like the what's happening in that scene is just so absurd. Like, and that, like, yes, I mean, it's disgusting. I don't you know, like it's gross, but it's so over the top and so just silly that I'm like, the intent really is like you're supposed to just kind of laugh at it, like, because and really what I was doing with that scene and scenes of that nature in that book is like, you know, when I was writing it, Human Centipede was kind of like in its advent, and like movies like that, and I was kind of making fun of those types of movies, and but just like doing it to, you know, like such an extreme level where like it's just goofy, and
Yeah.
so I do get surprised that it's that, and of course abortion is a very hot button issue. I don't think that the abortion element is what upsets people. I suppose it's like, I mean, it's very graphic, and like I don't know. It could just be like I have a different threshold for what is too much, I guess. Like I'm pretty desensitized. Like I've seen all the movies, I've read all the books. Like there's really nothing that shocks me or anymore. And I'm cognizant of that, and that maybe I just because I have that different threshold, like I don't expect everybody to have that same threshold. But I still do go back to like, it's just so like it's just dumb. Like the scene is just like it's I don't know how you can, because it's not something that could even happen, like the physics of it.
Right.
And
Right.
I find it fascinating because people will come out of that book and then they'll be
Oh
like,
my God.
well, I didn't think it was scary. What's wrong with you?
It's not supposed to be
It didn't
scary.
scare me. I was like, it's not supposed to be scary. It's not supposed to scare you. Like, this is one of those books where there's a level of absurdity built in to be your psychological safety net, because none of this shit's going to happen in real life. I mean, maybe in some weird, horrible way, somebody's out there doing something similar to that. I mean, it is a terrible world that we live in, but in the
Somebody's
context
book's going to be on
of
his
this
night.
book, like, this isn't really going to happen, like it's not horror. It gets classified as extreme horror, splatterpunk, but I think it kind of got swept up in that because you went viral at the same time. Augustina Bazterica went viral with Tender is the Flesh, and Duncan Ralston went viral with Womb, and all of that really started on TikTok, which is where I started building my foundation in book reviewing. And I watched this all happen. The three of you just went boom, boom, boom. Everybody talking about these books. And you and Augustina were very, very similar in that, because both of these are really firmly rooted in satire. And people just weren't getting it. They're just not getting it.
It's like,
I'm like, this is socio-political commentary. This isn't straight up horror. Like, this is Saramago blindness level political, socio-cultural commentary. And all you people are seeing is just what's in here that's shocking. So I just found it very fascinating that young people clung to it so much, and it became such a just a cause for conversation. This is really interesting to me. Sorry,
I think it's also,
my brain was
I think
just
it's
like boom.
I think it's also sad that, because I mean, obviously Dead Inside is a good book. It's not your greatest. Just like you said, it is not even close. And it's not because it's a bad book or anything. It's almost like you built upon that to just continue on, because personally, my favorite is Until the Sun. That ending, holy shit. Okay. Oh my God. Like, and it was so funny because I was reading it, and I've been trying to read all of them, and I didn't get to all of them, but I did get to most of them. And I DM'd Rain Havoc, who is also an indie author. And I was like, please tell me you've read this. Like, we had to talk about it, because that ending is not at all what I expected, just at all. It was amazing. So that's my personal favorite. I think that's, so far, I think that's one of the best ones. So I think that sadly, your work doesn't get the praise that it should because one book is the focus, if that makes sense.
Yes. I have a very interesting relationship with your book, Along the Path of Torment.
Mhm.
I would not say that I didn't enjoy the book. I did enjoy the book. I enjoyed the book because it challenged me
Mhm.
on an emotional level, trying to connect with the characters, because the characters are, I mean, I think you specifically wrote them to be wholly unlikable. Like
Mhm.
you
I
can
usually do. I don't like
Right.
likable characters aren't something I typically,
No.
you know.
right, because the world is full of unlikable people.
Yeah.
And we don't often confront that. My primary role, I'm a psych nurse, but my primary role now is as I teach de-escalation. So I work with a lot of unlikable people.
Sure.
And so these characters, it was very like you could see where there was capacity to sympathize,
Mhm.
and maybe even the ability to feel empathy, but it was very, very challenging, even with the young girl.
Yeah.
Who you typically would see as the primary, focus
The victim.
of your
Yeah.
sympathy, of your empathy. Even her, I was like, you know what, kiddo? You challenged me. You remind me a lot of young women that I've had to work with throughout my career as a mental
Mhm.
health professional, who make it very difficult to maintain that level of care and compassion.
Right.
So it was a very interesting emotional journey for me. Now, I'm really curious to know, does the inspiration for each story, does it strike differently every time, or have you noticed any particular sociocultural trends that have more commonly triggered that level of creativity for you?
I would say, like, in terms of where the inspiration strikes, it's always internal versus external. Like, it's typically me writing through a something personal, that I am dealing with, and then I look outside to kind of bring in like what is going on in the current moment, and how that plays into whatever it is that I'm kind of trying to write my way through.
Right.
Because
How is the environment of my world contributing to what
Mhm.
is happening inside of me right now?
exactly, yeah, and so that is kind of where, and because I in our current moment, the culture is shifting so drastically, so quickly, that there's a lot of material there where
Oh yeah.
I start a new project, and I'm looking at a different element of the human experience, which is really what is kind of like at the core of my work, and like what it's like to kind of move through whatever it is that I'm moving through, but in a very abstract way. Like I take I would say Along the Path of Torment was the most like personal I got, where like it most closely mirrors what I was dealing with personally, but it's still so far out there, and that like, I'm not doing the things that any of those characters are doing.
You heard it
I
here.
was gonna say, oh, honey, talk.
but it is, like through multiple lenses and abstractions, like I'm taking whatever that experience is, and how the environment, like you said, is kind of shaping that experience.
I talk about it a lot on this show in my book reviews, but how we use literary fiction, particularly horror and satire, for catharsis and trauma processing. And I think there's a big reason that your books are so popular is because you are very confrontational regarding what is fucked up and wrong with the world. And I think it allows people a safe space to kind of work through that and process through it without having to confront their own truths. It's kind of like the roundabout way to get there and to move through it. So I really appreciate it when authors are upfront and they're like, yeah, basically when I'm writing, I'm working through my own shit in my own safe way. And then I come out on the other side of this journey and I can move beyond that particular part of my own personal narrative. So I always think it's a very fascinating insight to share because it's so real. 100% real.
Yeah. And I think like what you said with it being cathartic, like one of my favorite lines in the book is, sometimes I hurt people weaker than I am. Inflicting suffering upon the weak is the closest a man can get to playing God. And we do that. Even if we don't want to, we do that. Everyone does that. And I think that you have, like, I read that and I was like, fuck, I don't want to accept that, but it's 100% true.
Yeah, it's one of our most primal human trauma responses.
Yeah, and I think like that character is
Ty. Ty.
like so many of my characters, like pathologically self-absorbed, like just a complete narcissist, and I think it's there's a way to kind of get at the real core, like, base element of human behavior through pathology, because where he is saying, like and being upfront about the fact that he is hurting people to lift himself up and make himself feel like God, like you're right. We all to some extent do that, but without the pathology involved, there's so many filters to how we process the fact that we're doing that and how we justify it to ourselves. And for him to have like all of that removed, like you can really just kind of get at the base of it, where he doesn't have to justify it to himself, and he doesn't have those filters that a normal person with the full spectrum of emotions would be would need to, like, kind of like the hoops they'd have to jump through to kind of justify
the
that.
mental gymnastics.
He can just be upfront about the fact that, like, hey, this is what I do and I'm okay with it.
Right. Also, for this character to go into that emotional space is to make himself vulnerable. And this is a character who would never allow himself to be vulnerable, because to be vulnerable would be to confront his own personal flaws and failures. So I'm sorry if we're digging too deep into this, but
we got to ask the hard-hitting questions.
You came here.
It's your fault. No, see, for me, I loved Along the Path of Torment because I sympathized with Ty at the beginning.
I did too.
Felt like this poor man. And then you start reading about, bear with me, I've tabbed all of your books, so bear with me here. Like my daughter tried to take them, and I'm like, don't touch those. I'm about to play God if you don't stop it.
I'll kill you.
Jeez. But like, I can't find it because everything's tabbed. I don't even know where I was going. I just completely lost my train of thought, like a complete and utter idiot.
So overwhelmed by my emotions.
Oh, Ty. Okay. So I am. I'm like so trying to keep it together. So when he starts talking about like having the women eat Q-tips out of the basket, the toilet paper, and like the Brillo pad, and the one that got me, the one that had me in absolute hysterics was the dead goldfish. But it's okay because he warmed it up in the microwave. Like,
yeah, charming, so nice.
But that's the thing, is like you empathize with him and you're like, this poor man, you know, he's doing this because he has to have it because of his insurance. And then you're like, fuck you, Ty. Like,
Yeah.
Why, Ty? Why? Give me back my sympathy. And I loved that. I loved that it was like, no, wait, here's more. And I you don't get that enough in books. You don't get, well, shit, I shouldn't have felt for that person, you know? And I think that's great. And I'm just rattling and I'm really sorry.
That's
No,
okay.
no.
He's like,
you know,
more.
Christina had really interesting insight about human-shaped fiends, which we also both find to be a really, really awesome book, particularly in the way it's built. Christina, this was your concept. This was the conversation you brought to me. So I want you to take the lead on this one because.
Okay. So, and I have sent Chandler my review from like last July about how meta it was. And again, we don't get enough of that. We don't get enough of, and I don't know how much of it is real, you know, but I do feel like there's parts of you in there that you haven't shown in other books. And I think like you're very meta about Dead Inside, and you're talking about the Dead Inside poster hanging on the wall looks like it's laughing at me. It's always laughing. Sometime I imagine it speaks to me. You'll never be more than me, it'll say. I'm what your readers want. I'm all your readers want. My eyes drift until the Sun poster, a better book than Dead Inside, truly. And then to the poster Along the Path of Torment, my best book.
I just wanted to give you a giant hug. I wanted to be like, look, dude, it's okay.
There are poster down.
There's a core group of us out here who are like, hell yeah.
Mhm.
Dead Inside's good, but these are better.
So
I mean,
it's okay, man. We got you.
So the question is did you really worry because it was such a difference, or was that kind of just played up?
I mean, everything in that book is played up. Like there is certainly, like I took it to extremes. Like when I was writing the Chandler Morrison character, it is closer to my goofy Twitter persona than it is the real me. But there's certainly an element of actual truth there. And I like truth be told, when I set out to write that book, the meta element was never a part of it in the beginning. It like my publisher wanted me to write this Western, and I agreed to write it, and was really just struggling with it because I was checking boxes, and like and I wasn't it was the first time I was writing a book and not really writing it like as a way to like I said earlier, like kind of work through some sort of personal. It was just me fulfilling a contract. That was all I was doing.
Oh, I might have questions about that then later.
But it, and because of that, and because Dead Inside was like really had like surged in popularity, like and I would get like, look, I'm I can't say enough how grateful I am for every fan that I have, and people get different things out of the things that they enjoy. But I'd get like I'd see a lot of people who loved the book, but were really like, what they loved about it was like how gross it was, and I thought, like, well, is that is that where my popularity comes from? Like, is it really just, is that the base of it? Is like, I've in kind of satirizing this particular genre, I've become a hero of that genre.
You like, did, yeah.
But and so as I was writing it, I was struggling with, what do people expect of me? And it really became like physically painful to work on the book, because I was just, I wasn't connected to it in any sort of way. Like I was just hitting marks and just checking the boxes.
Yeah.
Until it got to a point I couldn't work on it anymore. And I was coming up on a deadline, which I ended up tripping over anyway, but I had to shift how I was looking at it. And that's where, I added the meta element, which not only, I think adds the to the book, I think the meta element is the best part of the book. But it also kind of complements the Western narrative in a way where all of those boxes I was checking like now kind of serve a different purpose, as opposed to me just checking those boxes. It serves this other purpose of the twin narrative of a writer who feels like he has to check boxes, and so it kind of like gives it a a deeper meaning than just here's a gory scene, and like without those without the meta elements, it's just gore for gore's sake. And which that was the first time in a book that I was doing gore for gore's sake. And by adding those interludes, it's no longer gore for gore's sake, it's something else.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I took it as both of you, like you as in the book, and then the main character, were both going on a journey. And so it's like this hero's quest type of deal, but not really the hero's quest, but you're both in search of something. And he's in search of revenge. You're in search of getting this done and over with. And I think that that's kind of cool, that it was almost like you two were foils of each other. And I thought that was kind of cool. Of course, again, I could be totally reading into it and you're like, this lady really needs to get a job because it's too much. Just too much, lady.
That's what that's what literary fiction's all about, though. You put the information out there and then the reader takes it wherever they're going to take it, right?
I will analyze everything.
Oh, it's about our experiences. It's about your experience as the author, processing your thing, and then we pick it up and we take it and we use it as a tool to process our own thing, which means our brain's going to make of it whatever we make of it, which is probably why some people cling to that objective gore, violence. That's what their brain gets fired off of. And then other people are like, no, there's deeper meaning to this. This is an analysis of the world that we're currently living in. So it's all just about that a very subjective experience that we all have. Now, when you mentioned that human shaped fiends was basically a contract obligation, and I mean, more power to you. You ended up making something very creative and amazing out of that obligation. Do you feel like moving into the world of more mainstream publication that you've kind of been confined more from a creative standpoint? I understand it's an enormous blessing. We never look a gift horse in the mouth, right? Amazing that you're at this position, that you have this, support behind you. But do you feel like it's kind of boxed you in a little bit at the same time?
I think for a period I did feel that, um, and I and writing Human Shape Fiends kind of helped me move out of that. Um, the books that I have written since Human Shaped Fiends, there's two. I've written two books since Human Shaped Fiends that neither of which are out yet, but they're vastly different. Like, I mean, the core is like it's the same types of themes that I explore. They're still extremely, extremely dark, and the like stylistically, it is very much what somebody would expect from me. But content-wise, like it's not the violence that you see in some of the others. There's few, if any, horror elements, and it'll be interesting to see how my current fan base responds to that. But I'm at a point where, like, I there are things that I'm interested in doing as an artist. I am in a place where I'm lucky enough that I don't depend on what I make as an author to pay my rent. So like, if the response to them isn't what the response has been to my other books in terms of like volume of sales, like I'll be okay. Like, I have a day job that takes very good care of me, and so I'm not in a place that, like, I'm kind of beholden to the market.
Yeah.
But I do, I do also feel like there are people I feel like there's a portion of the market out there as well that that would appreciate my books that I think probably shy away because of my reputation. And which is understandable, but I think there are a lot of people out there who would appreciate and get something out of it that because of some of the content of my other books just wouldn't go near, and I so I do think that there is potential to reach an even wider audience with this kind of shift in direction. But again, it's still very much me. Like, I'm not completely reinventing the brand here. Like, it's still like the characters are all still pathologically horrible, and
Yay!
everybody's like rich and beautiful, and like like those things that you expect in one of my books. But just
Forgive me if this is too personal of a question, but living in Los Angeles and having the perspective that you do as a writer of satire, do you kind of feel like a lone satellite floating around in this community of people who have a tendency to be more, I hate to say it, but a little bit more potentially vapid or self-focused, more ego-focused? Like, do you feel a little bit isolated from the people that you're kind of floating around with?
It's an interesting question. Like, it can be like, look, LA is like, all the stereotypes are true, and there are, like, it really is not representative of the best that humanity has to offer.
Yeah.
But to an extent, I would not, put myself in their same bucket, but like, it does have a way of rubbing off on you, and like, not like, to varying degrees. And like I said, my Twitter persona is like, you would, if you'd read my Twitter persona as fact, like, I would think I'm there with the best of them in terms of the vapid, completely self-absorbed people. But no, like, I mean, there are lots of satellites too. Like, that's like, while the collective whole is kind of terrible, there are plenty of people who see through it, who are out here, and I think there are there's still a real humanity in those people too, like the vapid LA stereotypes. Like, you gotta look a little bit deeper and kind of squint your eyes a little bit. But
humans are icebergs. All we see is what's on the surface and what they choose to project on the surface. There's miles and miles of more stuff under the water. So of course there's always going to be a far deeper level of it. Going back to your Twitter persona, I am curious. There must have been a conscious choice to choose that persona to project to the public. Now, this many years later, do you have any personal regrets about choosing that persona and how it may be molding people's perception of what it is, the content that you should or are producing as a writer?
I wouldn't say I have regrets, because I think the people who really count, like, see that it is what it is,
right?
And but it became clear to me early in my career that that many readers want the author of the books they enjoy to be kind of in the similar realm with the characters that they're writing about, like, and so that is a part of it, and another part of it, and on a more, like, much simpler level, is just from a, like, just in terms of how social media works, in that like I could be, myself, and tweet about what I'm actually doing and what I'm actually thinking and what I actually believe, but is that really interesting? You know, like, not really. I mean, like, as much as, you know, everybody wants to believe that they're, you know, what's going on, you know, and in their world is, you know, super interesting. Like, in terms of having like kind of a mass appeal, like I look at Twitter as like an extended stand-up routine. And it's supposed to be, at least for like my Twitter account, it's supposed to be entertaining.
Right.
And like you're supposed to kind of laugh at it. And so I it's really not too much more than, you know, I have this kind of entertaining stand-up routine type thing that that generates engagement, and then that engagement generates into followers, and that those followers turn into potential readers. And like that's really all it is you know, like there's a it's a shtick that is a lot of people, you know, respond to, and kind of run with it. Like, because like I said, you know, I can just be myself, but like what I'm not that interesting. You know, like, so
You think I
Your
think
books say different.
yeah, right. I think there's actually a secondary gain to portraying someone that you are not fully through social media, because there are people who will latch onto that character and who will love you because of that character. And then there's another subset of people, potentially more like myself and Christina, who become more interested in who you are, particularly in regards to who you really are, who really is this person, because we know that's not the real you. So it almost makes you more interesting, more intriguing, because we were like, but who is this person really? Because I see this personality and then I see this stuff in the books and I know what I'm getting here. And the pieces aren't going together, my dude.
Right. Like the math isn't adding
now
up.
I'm more interested.
Yeah. Because it was so funny when I sent you the review of Human Shaped Fiends. I literally had to have like a hype squad, because I was like, this guy is never going to answer me. He doesn't give two shits about my opinion. And like, I am a huge fangirl. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to hit send. And the second I hit send, I literally started like chastising myself. Like, why the fuck did you do that? Oh my God. Like my 5-year-old told me to calm down. But, and you are the sweetest person to interact with. You are kind, and you like, you know, like I said, I made mention that, you know, I was probably going to pass out, and you were just like, it'll be fine. We'll have fun. And I think that we see that, and we're kind of scared to approach, but at the same time, it's almost like, go ahead and do it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And I think that that's, you know, that's my Chandler. That's my Chandler moment. You know,
thanks so much for not being a dick.
Thanks for not making a 40-year-old woman cry in front of her children. I appreciate that. Do you think, kind of building off of that, do you think that can sometimes hinder people from saying, hey, I really, really like your books, or anything like that? Or you just like, stop being a bunch of pussies and send me how awesome I am. Like,
does that protect you from unwanted interaction? Are you more keen on kind of like having that separation between yourself and the fans?
Yeah, I mean, look, I again can't stress how grateful I am for every one of my fans. I am nothing. My career is nothing without the people who read and enjoy and promote my work. So I am always happy to engage with a fan. So no, like I would never be rude or disrespectful. I mean, if I got hundreds of them, like I would do my best to respond, and I would be as gracious as I have been up to this point. But I do get like if I get like a bunch of notifications or my inbox starts piling up, I kind of like tense up, and so if there is that added element in that, I mean, I don't know, like I'm always happy to hear from fans. So I mean, if people are afraid to reach out to me, like they really should not be, because
right here, Exhibit A.
Well, I think people appreciate knowing that too.
Yeah,
and I do get a fair amount of them. Like, I mean, I'm certainly not spending all day fielding fan mail, but I do get I get a fair amount, and it's like it's always nice to see, and I like it really to know that I had like that kind of impact on somebody, especially because like I know what that's like. I've got my like authors that I have that had that impact on me, and some of them I've been lucky enough to engage with and have like personal friendships with some of them today, which is still surreal. And so yeah, like I'm people should never be afraid to reach out to me, because I'm always grateful to hear from.
Well, that's wonderful, because you're stuck with us now.
Yeah, we're like herpes. We're not going anywhere, friends. Sorry, I apologize.
We are antibiotic resistant.
Yep, don't get a shot. Not gonna work.
We are a virus. You can't treat us.
So something totally, completely opposite, other side of the spectrum of questions. My favorite thing about your books, and I talk a lot about this on Facebook, is your Easter eggs and the interweaving of the Chandler verse. I love that, so I'm going to use it. And you said Lucas came up with that, right? That Chandler verse?
I think it was Lucas. Christine Morgan said she thinks she came up. It might have been Christine. Somebody did. I don't know.
She's awesome.
Christine's
so
great. Yeah.
much.
So sweet. You want to talk about just the sweetest woman?
Oh, I know.
But Easter eggs are everywhere. So this is just three. This is more.
Christina is not insane. I swear to
I'm
you.
not.
And you have no reason to worry, because she's in Alaska. She's in Alaska. You're in California.
You're safe.
You are safe.
You're safe.
It's okay.
I'm a lawnmower mom. I don't let my kids out of my sight, so you're good. You're safe for now. When they get older, I can't promise. But the one thing that I absolutely love is how you interweave the universes, from Dead Inside to it being with along the path of torment, and in the path of torment you have Until the Sun. Like, it's all interweaving. And it's so funny because I'm a nerd. I mean, obviously I'm a nerd. I love Easter eggs. I love finding and going, he thinks he's sneaky. And then, I'll talk to someone else and they're like, oh, I found that. And I'm like, God damn it. I thought I was special. Like, I thought I was the one.
I don't know if you're a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I suddenly feel like Christina has become Charlie Day and you are her Pepe Sylvia.
Yes. And I posted that on Twitter, didn't I? I did. That's so funny that you say that, because I posted about how I was reading all through the book, and that was what I posted. Was, Chandler's got me like, but you also do literary and musical references as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think. Yeah, so pink and purple are your literary and musical references. Yeah. Just so you know, just in case you need to know, you're right about.
For your reference.
Yeah, just in case you haven't read them. My question is there one Easter egg that you put into your books that no one finds, and you're just like, please find this?
Good question.
One? That's a great question. I do have a lot of Easter eggs.
A lot.
There's one. I'm a huge Hemingway fan.
Yep. I caught all that. Caught it.
He's one of my he's right up there with Ellis, with Pollock, with Didion, and so is Shakespeare. So there's so there are those tend to, like, I've not had anybody like point though like the Hemingway references out to me, or the
she got you, dude.
I got you, friend, because
yeah.
I caught it with, and I can't remember which one, and I'm gonna look like an asshole, but there's one, and it's the girlfriend and the boyfriend going back and forth, and she's like, I don't want to be the white elephant. And I was like, it's something about Kilimanjaro was right before it. And I was like, is he trying to get crafty with Hemingway? Because I even wrote in the notes, Hemingway, I'm on to you. I got that
question mark.
Yeah, I got that one.
You got it. There's another one. It's one of my favorites. Is that it's in Dead Inside, where the narrator describes Helen's breasts as hills like white elephants.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I think you're.
She's like, I fucking flagged it. I fucking flagged it.
That's sad. That's so sad. He's probably like, what a crazy person.
No, I think that's fantastic.
She has a master's degree in lit, dude. So she's not crazy. She's just very well educated. We swear.
It's great.
Look, there are not a lot of authors like you where I can actually like get super nerdy. And I think that for me is what really puts you over the top, is because I can get nerdy. I can read this and see Hemingway and it's Shakespeare. And I also pulled out all my Bukowskis because Bukowski is my jam. Okay, I love him. And I think that we don't, for readers like me, I don't read for fun. I can't read for fun. I don't understand that. I don't know how people do it. I have to analyze everything. I have to find the deeper meaning. And it's annoying at the same time because nobody wants to be in my book clubs.
I'll always be in your book club.
You're the best. You're the best. But you just have to put up with me. But yeah, I mean, So anyone who has will get a literary boner, read these books because there's so much in them. And yeah, so I'm just gonna stop because everybody's gonna be like, Christina, shut the fuck up, for God's sake.
And then you
No,
have
I think it's great.
and I'm just like, Chandler Morrison, which Care Bear do you most identify with and why? This is very important. As a mental health professional, I need to know.
Oh, here it is. Here's part of it in Dead Inside. It's a really simple procedure, they just let the air in. She glares at me but cracks a half smile. Are you actually quoting Hemingway right now? And then she goes on and on. And then you don't want to watch me get fat and turn into a white elephant. And I'm like, that's a very clever way to continue Hemingway. Okay, I'm done fangirling.
Well
I want to take it.
Well, hey.
I'm extremely impressed.
Thank you. And now I'm gonna faint. Thanks.
And we're gonna break on a high note for the mothers here because we are killing it.
Heart attack.
We're gonna take a quick ad break. We're gonna give all of our love to Godless because we always do. We will be right back.
Hey kids, looking for a way to affordably access the best and wildest independent extreme horror currently in existence? Godless Horrors is the place to be. Go to www.godless.com to gain access to thousands of extreme horror and splatterpunk books from the genre's best and brightest independent authors. Godless Horrors offers every title in their catalog in a variety of formats to ensure compatibility with your favorite digital reading device. Strapped for cash? No worries. Godless has a fantastic collection of free titles ready for instant download, with other titles in their collection rarely exceeding $3 to $4. Again, go to www.godless.com or download the app and tell them what the fuck you're looking for. Come join the Godless tribe today. Forever delightfully deviant. Forever godless.
People are gonna be like,
We're back. And you know what? While we were on that little ad break, we just kept talking about all kinds of cool stuff. And normally we would just delve into our rapid fire 4, but we're appreciating this conversation way too much. So we're just going to do at least one more here and then we'll hit you. Then we'll get you.
and we're gonna do the one that's gonna embarrass the shit out of me. But like we were talking about with your music and everything, has anyone, I'm not doing it, so don't worry, I'm not that level of crazy, but has anyone done a Spotify list of all the musical
I'll fucking do it.
influences?
If nobody's done it,
There's
I'll
so
fucking
many.
do it.
Because I was like, what a cool soundtrack to read to. But there's
Mothers of Mayhem approved.
right.
I don't think
But
anybody has.
It's gonna.
If they have, I don't know about it.
So if any of y'all are listening,
Yeah, I don't.
we need to know, because if you haven't done it,
Because I got to thinking, I was
Yeah.
like, how funny would that be to be like, hi Chandler, I'm not crazy, but here's a Spotify list of all the songs you mentioned. And I was like, no.
I think that would be awesome. I would love that. I would use that playlist. So if somebody wants to take the time to do that, please,
consider it done.
doing me a favor.
Oh yeah, we're doing it. Oh,
Well, looks like the kids aren't eating this weekend. I'm busy.
You make sure you credit the Mother's Mayhem for that one.
Children, you're not eating because mother has to do things.
So excited. Oh yes.
You know what? Actually, I think it'd be kind of cool to have it come out with this episode.
Yes. So if after this, just know none of y'all motherfuckers can steal this idea because we already did
It's
it.
done.
So-
It's done. So suck a butt.
Yeah. Kick rocks, you assholes. We love you.
You
Keep
snooze, you
listening.
lose.
Don't leave us. Don't leave us. We love you.
I don't know why, but I was curious if anybody had. I think that I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool because you list so many different ones, like Mick Jagger and Hawthorne Heights.
Yeah,
and
there's gonna be so much Hawthorne Heights. You can't even you're not even. Ohio.
he's gonna be like,
for
that's what
lovers."
jam. That's the one that's talked about the most.
I
Ohio
won't
is
admit
for
to it being my
lovers.
jam. I
It's okay.
I will
It's okay.
deny
He
it
does not
until
like
I'm blue in the
Hawthorne
face
Heights.
that I do not listen to Hawthorne Heights.
And I appreciate that. So
And there may or may not be at least one Neil Diamond track and one Lindsay Lohan track just in honor of Marian and Christina.
Lindsay Lohan is my musical skeleton.
And I love Neil Diamond, so
I love Lindsay Lohan. I think like just her whole image, her whole like, you know, is she a train wreck? Is she not a train wreck?
Right.
I think it's all great.
she's like, fuck you,
Right.
let's go party in Mykonos.
Right. And you know, her songs are pretty, as Marian would say, they're a bop.
It's a
you
bop.
know. So should we do the
real quick that there's a movie that Brady Snellis wrote called The Canyons. Have you ever seen it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Lindsay Lohan's in that.
Yes.
And look, I love Lindsay Lohan, but she looks awful in it. Like she just doesn't look good. But the best part about that movie is like everybody is talking about her character and treating her character like she's this like goddess. And there are all these other like women in it who are like much hotter than Lindsay Lohan. And she's like they're all snubbing these women in favor of Lindsay Lohan. It's just kind of
That's
hilarious because she just looks
amazing.
terrible.
Yeah.
Not at her peak there.
Not a healthy time for Lynn.
No.
oh, L.
Have you ever
come
met
on.
her? Have you met her in real life? Have you ever run into her?
I've not met Lindsay.
Oh wow. See, those of us who do not live in Los Angeles have this like very narrow view of what it could possibly be. Like you would just imagine these people just like walking down the street every day.
You
living
do
their
meet a
lives.
lot. I've met a lot of them, like between parties I've been to and having like mutual friends and just seeing them walking down the street or like you know, at a coffee shop or something. Like, I mean, they're all over the place. Like that's true.
That's wild to me. That's absolutely. I just that kind of. I feel like it would be surreal to live that sort of life, just to see those people around, floating around. I got to go to the closest I ever got to that was I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con. Do you ever go to SDCC to promote your stuff?
No, I've never
No?
been to Gen Comic-Con.
I went, and you might appreciate this, but my family went at the height of the Lord of the Rings fanaticism, okay? Because my family went bazonks. So we went to make sure that we could meet all the hobbits, Sean Astin, Elijah Wood, Dominic Monaghan, Billy Boyd, all of them. And that was I remember just like walking through across the floor and like seeing all of these famous people and being like, what the fuck is happening? Like none of this is real. I can't fathom this. So I can't even imagine what it would be like just going to a coffee shop, going to S-Bucks to get your venti triple mocha. And like Tom Hanks is there.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
I just like I've never really been one of those people who have been like, oh my God, I want to meet anybody. But you and John Wayne Cominali, like those are my two. And check, got one done. So one to go. And then I can
John
die
Wayne's
happy.
super cool. Like you should absolutely reach out to John Wayne. He's
I have. He
I
knows.
I get to meet him in person at AuthorCon in 3 weeks, so I am stoked.
She's taking a because obviously I'm in Alaska. I can't fly out there for it, but she's got a picture of my head. So I get to have my picture taken with John Wayne Common. So
Yay!
yeah. I completely forgot we were recording. So now I look like a complete psychopath. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited about
honey,
this.
that is totally 100% on brand. Let's hit
really
him with the rapid fire 4.
4 questions, 4 answers. Need answers immediately.
Are you ready?
Boy, I'm ready.
I don't believe you. Okay, let's go. Go ahead.
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. Which of your characters do you identify with the most in life? But you talked about that.
Kind of, but not
kind of.
really.
I know it's supposed to be rapid fire, but that's like they're.
It's okay.
Damn it, Chandler.
I guess I would say like I'd say the Chandler Morrison that's in Human Shaped Fiends probably, just because he was going through something very specific that I was going through at the time, and there's fewer filters there than I usually apply between my protagonists.
Good answer. Good answer.
I called it. I told Rain, I said, my guess is, and I guessed it. Yes.
And yet
Jackpot.
she's going to continue to tell you that she's not insane.
Oh. I'm good.
Is there any other literary genre you would want to try? Do you feel like you might ever break away from satire?
Yeah, I would do I think erotica. Like I could probably do erotica.
Now, really,
that would be interesting.
That would be interesting, but I am also surprised. Can I dig a little deeper? Like, why that one in particular?
It's a lot of my books have some sort of like graphic sex scene, and
true.
I get a lot of fan messages from women about the about the sex scenes, which is surprising to me because they're oftentimes like it's something aberrant, you know, and like just not like kind of fucked up.
I was gonna say, could these potentially be the
degrees.
women who were writing to serial killers in prison?
I don't know. They seem very nice. You know, so
they always do.
No,
girls, we love you and we understand you, ladies. We get it.
So I think I could, you know, I don't know that I ever would, but if I were going to, you know, try something, yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's a cool one. So my next one, I know. My next one is, what is your favorite story you have written?
It's one that is called. It was published on Expat, and it's called "Burn Me to Ash," and it's expat.com, I think is the website, and it's about a guy who is in love with this singer, and she like kind of just breaks his heart, and it's very short, but I think at like I was trying to capture a certain mood and feeling with that, and I think that that was probably the closest I got in terms of trying, like in a short story, trying to capture something and then capturing it. So Burn Me to Ash.
I took notes.
Awesome.
I took
She's like,
notes.
I'm going to find it.
I'm good. Find there.
And then I'm going to tab it.
Right. Don't judge me. All right, Marian. Last
It
but not
will
least.
be annotated.
Right.
Who would you want backing you up in a vicious street fight? Me or Christina? And why is it me?
That makes sense. He's like, oh shit. It's okay. I'm a nerd.
That was that. Gotcha.
That's the only gotcha
My,
question we got.
my real question is, if you now, I think I might know the answer to this, but maybe not. You might surprise me. If you could co-author with anyone, living or dead, who would it be?
Ooh. You know what? I don't know if this counts as an answer, but there isn't one. I would not.
No.
I would not want to. Because my writing process is so specific. Because my publisher has wanted me to do collaborations. They've pushed one with Christopher Triana, who I love Triana.
Oh,
Triana's
yeah.
great.
Oh,
Big
I
fan
can
of
see that.
his work, but I am such a meticulous perfectionist and a complete control freak, and it would not serve well for any sort of collaboration with anybody. Like, no matter how much I respect them and appreciate their work, because there are plenty of authors who respect and appreciate their work, but I am just so like when I write a book, like I'll go through draft after draft after draft after draft where I'm just sanding it down and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking until it's like as perfect in my mind as it can be. And I'm so specific about word choice and sentence structure, and I just have such a like a need to control the whole thing, you know, and so to cut that in half and share that with somebody, I just couldn't, and it would be really unpleasant for both parties, particularly the other author. I wouldn't want to put another author through that, because like I said, you know, like Triana, I huge respect for Triana, but I wouldn't want to subject him to my like manic, you know, need to control absolutely every part of
but also being that self-aware is impressive.
Oh yeah, it's good insight.
Yeah.
I mean, basically what you want is you want to be able to protect whatever peer relationship has the potential of being there.
Yeah.
You don't want to we don't want to project our own neuroses onto somebody else needlessly if we can. Yeah.
And that's really what, you know, what would happen, because it is like I always say that whenever I am working on a book, it is it's like being in a very toxic relationship, where I am obsessed to a almost frightening degree, where like I get so wrapped up in that particular project that and I am just like just so meticulous. Like I hear about like directors, like particularly like Kubrick and Fincher, and how they are to work with, and like it's relatable in that, like because they would make actors do scenes like, you know, like 90 takes, like take after take after take.
Yeah.
And I will do that with like with a sentence. Like I will take a sentence through you know, 90 different variations of it. So
interesting.
gets to
How
a
do you
point where,
finally settle? Is it just that feeling deep down inside? Your gut is like, okay, this is good, or is there something in particular that you're looking for stylistically?
there there's a coldness and a, like, you know, a kind of remote like dispassion that I kind of go for, and uh that's a part of it, and there's also a kind of like musicality I kind of look to achieve, and there is, I guess, like at a certain point I just know like this is it, but at the same time, like sometimes I do just have to say like, this is as good as I'm going to get it, because I can just keep whittling until there's nothing left, and for that reason, like some of my earlier books, like Just to See Hell, I've not, because I wrote those books when I was a teen, or wrote those stories when I was most of them when I was a teenager. I can't look at them because I want to edit the ever loving shit out of it. Like, because I think like you can see in those stories that the genesis of my style was kind of there, but it's still like kind of wobbly. It's in its infancy, and not and some of them like very stylistically and in a way that isn't, I just don't particularly like.
This is a very interesting almost paradox to me, because you will analyze even just one single sentence over and over and over and over again to maintain, to search for exactly what it is you're looking for in that combination of words. And yet you're willing to take this content that you created back at a time when you were a completely different person, when things weren't exactly perfect, things that you still want to be able to edit, but you're willing to allow them to exist as they are, to honor the place from which they came. And yet it contrasts with that level of control that you keep over your creation now. And I just think that's very, very interesting. It's a fascinating evolution. We have other author friends who are very open about the fact that there are books that they put out at the genesis of their writing careers that they have taken away from the public and will never put back out, because they feel like it doesn't speak to who they are now, or they have some level of insecurity related to that work. So they're never going to allow us to see them, much to my rage.
Kevin Sweeney.
But I really respect that you're willing, like with Just to See Hell, you took that work and you were like, no, here, this is what it was. I'm not going to change it because this is who I was at this time. This is where I started. So mad props to you, my dude, because I think that takes a lot of courage, especially when you know people are going to go and pick up that book based off of what they're reading that's more current. So they're going to have an entirely different experience with Just to See Hell that they do with Dead Inside or Human Shaped Fiends or any of your more current work. So that takes a lot of bravery. So yeah, hell yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I I understand why some authors do that, why they take them down. I just think, you can see it like a lot of authors, like you see it takes them a couple of books to like really get to the point where they really figure out what they're trying to do. And I know there are people out there who really like Just to See Hell and really like some of the stories in there. So
I really liked it.
Yeah, so like, I mean, who am I because of my own neuroses to take that away from people just because I'm like, you know, it was where I was in a certain point in time, you know, like and just in the same way that like I could not write, you know, Dead Inside today. Like I just just couldn't do it.
Wow.
I just couldn't. But that was representative of where you know, I was in a certain place in my life and in my career, and so you know, it is what it is.
I
Book's been
fucking
very
love
good.
it.
Yeah.
You're a fascinating person, Chandler Morrison, because you have this you have this ability to be very transparent
Mhm.
about your creative process and why you write the things that you write. And yet, you know, through social media and stuff, you have chosen this other persona to project. So there's
You got whole brain guy. My brain goes in a whole different direction.
You
than
got
hers
me all
does.
fucked up, bruh.
People like mystery. There's, you know, you gotta maintain a little bit of that, you know, mystique.
Right, a little bit of intrigue. A little bit of intrigue.
Yeah.
But
The final
before-
question I think would be, how many people have told you that you look like Tim Roth?
Tim Roth. I haven't.
Because I'm going to tell you
Really?
right now, this whole time I've been having major Reservoir Dog moments. And I'm like, holy shit.
I don't think I got some Tim.
That's a new one.
Well,
I would have never have put that together. Like,
I get particularly like if my hair's flicked back, I'll get James Dean.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. Congratulations on that, by the way.
I've gotten James McAvoy a couple of times.
Oh, I can see that too. God, I love that.
I don't.
That
Do I
scene where
not-
he takes the keyboard and he smashes it across.
Who
the
is
guy's
that?
face.
What movie is he in?
Atonement.
I don't know that one.
Did you see Filth, based on the Urban
No.
Welsh novel?
Oh yeah.
The
I'll look him
Split.
up. No. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've seen a trailer for that. You have to understand. I watch like 10 hours of TV a month. Like that's all I watch. So I'm kind of not cool. Like, there's cool, and then there's me.
He's too busy annotating your books.
I'm the same way. I don't watch a ton of TV. Like lately I've gotten more into like Succession. I'm really into Succession and Euphoria.
Oh yeah, HBO.
I don't. I'm the same way. I'll read a book over the weekend as opposed to binging a show. Although I binged the shit out of Emily in Paris. I'll say that without.
Wow,
I just
like it's
binged.
a terrible show. Like it's so bad, but like there's just something about it, like that. It's like just like doing bad coke. Like
I was gonna say that revelation just punched me in the face.
The last thing I binged is Space Force, and that's only because my husband is Air Force, and they make fun of like everybody, and that's why I was gonna actually say my favorite Injustice Hell is Mechanical Patriots, because you have said a lot in that my husband and I both feel, and I thought I related to that one.
Yeah, I read that. I actually did a public reading of that at a bar in Cleveland.
Oh God!
Wow.
And I started it like, because I was really young when I did it. I had this I got up on the stage. I was like, how many veterans I got in the house
just reading the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
Because I need to know how fast I'm gonna get shot.
Yeah, that's really what it was. And there was one guy who's like, hoorah! And I'm like, oh boy. You're gonna love this.
That sounds like a Marine, and they are like we call my husband, because he's in the Air Force, I call it the chair force, because like, they don't really do much. So
Christina,
well,
stop.
and I have a lot of respect for members of our military.
You can tell that.
Maybe
you could tell that.
That's good, because I've wondered too, like if it's misconstrued.
No. I think that if people want to misconstrue it, they will. But I think at the very basic breakdown of it is this man wants to, support his country, but, there's bad shit happening.
Right.
And is he going to stand for his morals, or is he going to get swept up in that? And I think that that's very true, because you even put in here, I don't want to misquote you because that's such a dick thing to do. Oh, it says use quote, so I probably should go there, huh? We're not protectors, we're destroyers. We are ruthless and brainwashed drones, expendable pawns in someone else's depraved chess game. And literally I put not wrong. And because it's true, it's 100% true. So again, fangirling for no reason. Sorry about that.
Hey, it is what it is, and that's what you get when you come to Mothers of Mayhem.
You really do.
It.
It's like,
Chandler
how is
Morrison.
Christina?
Yeah, again, you are a fascinating person. And we really appreciate you coming to our piddly little season 1
Right.
of this podcast. And we can't thank you enough. You've been amazing. This has been a fantastic conversation. I think one of the best we've had so far, honestly. And we've had a lot of fun with a lot of people, but this has been really cool. If people would like to contact you, how do you prefer them to do that? Where's the best place for them to find you, to reach out? What's the deal?
Twitter and Instagram, really. Like, I mean, I'm more active on Twitter than I am Instagram. So Twitter's probably your better bet. And my username there is Mecha Chandler. And Instagram is just Chandler.Morrison. But like I said, like people can feel free to reach out. I'm not right.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Cool. For more information.
But thank you for having me on. This has been great. I honestly, like, I've done a lot of interviews. This was definitely one of the best ones, the most fun I've had. So thank you.
Oh,
I'm gonna pass that. I'm gonna pass that out.
Always welcome to come back, because Christina and I love to talk about this stuff. No joke. So anytime you want to come back, you just let us know, because we would love to. We have so many more questions. We honestly do, because yeah, there's a lot going on here.
There's a lot of Easter eggs I didn't get to.
We've got more. Friends, for more information on Chandler Morrison's full bibliography, please refer to today's show notes or come join us on the Mothers of Mayhem official Facebook group. As always, you can find the links to our various social media accounts in our show bio. I am on TikTok. That is my home base, but you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. TF, meaning the fuck did I just read? Follow me, bitches. ND Horror Books is Christina on Twitter. Say your handle one more time, Chandler, so that people can catch it on Twitter.
Yeah, it's Mecha Chandler, like Mecha Godzilla.
If you follow me back on Instagram, we got a massive Godzilla collection. So we just became best friends. Sorry about your life. You can send your questions, comments, or insults to our email address, momextremepodcast@gmail.com. That's m.o.m.extremepodcast@gmail.com. Do not forget to send dildos to Christina. DM me if you need her mailing address. As always. Oh,
Yeah,
that's a joke. And now that you've been a
single
guest, like
episode.
if you're like on the highway and you're stuck in traffic in an Uber or whatever, you need to go back and start listening to this podcast because it's fucking
I
amazing.
will, yeah.
As always, a huge thank you to singer-songwriter Amigo the Devil for allowing us to use his song Hungover in Jonestown as our theme. Danny, we appreciate you and your support of the podcast so much. You know, I love you forever. I told you guys on the last episode you should be listening to him if you are a fan of splatterpunk or horror in general. So get the fuck on it. Jesus. And until next time, go raise some hell children.
Mommy didn't pass out this time, but make your book mommies proud.
Oh, we're so proud of you, Christina. Well done.
Proud of myself.
All right, you guys. Bye, kids. Bye. Oh, we love you.
Life is a joke, and death is the punchline. Oh, la, 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 la. Life is a joke, and death is the punchline. Oh, la, 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 la. This life is a joke, and death is the punchline. La, 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 la. This life is a joke, and death is the punchline. Oh, la, 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 la. This life is a joke, death is the punchline.